Is it straight?
I mean, it's definitely tilted a little bit.
That's kind of bothered me. Are you equally in this picture? Is it centered still? I feel like it moved over.
Nope.
You're just gonna have to be close to me.
All right, is it on?
Yes.
Let me do it one more time.
Do what?
Now it's as centered as possible. I hope these mics are working.
Mine's green, you're green?
Mine's green.
Woo! Welcome back to my YouTube channel.
How about I start it? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, I am letting my amazing wife interview me
Dun, dun, dun.
about the upcoming season and how it will be different than last season.
Okay, at any point, you want to cut it off? Shut it down?
Okay.
You can.
All right.
Say, oop, this is a little too much for me, Grace Ann. I think it's best we skip ahead.
Okay.
We can. So we'll backtrack to almost exactly a year ago to today. Open had wrapped up, and we made a decision right before quarters.
Yeah, we moved to the north, to Vermont, where it was very cold and gloomy up there. It's a little gloomy up there.
We moved in a winter storm.
We did. It was one of the biggest winter storms they had seen in a hot minute. And so we moved that day. That was the day we arrived, and it was like something we've never even, seen before.
Not at all. No. What led to moving to Vermont and then kind of just debrief what quarters looked like up there?
Yeah, so last year, after Wadapalooza, Mal O'Brien was up there. Mm-hmm. And I was looking just to, make that next step of like what could possibly be the next thing that I do in my training to get to the next level for me, because I came in 7th the year before.
2022.
And so I was like, hey, what could I do to, progress here? And so having a training partner was one of the things that came to mind. And Mal was definitely wanting me to be up there. So that was when we decided. It took like probably a month for us to, come to terms with us moving and thinking it was best for our family. And so, yeah, we moved right before quarterfinals. And yeah, it went well. We moved the week of quarterfinals, and so we got there. We unpacked, and
for 2 days.
Yeah, 2 days. We were thrown right into the fire. So yeah, that was that. Mm-hmm. It was definitely a stretching year from start to finish. Mm-hmm. It was cold. It was super uncomfortable. Emotionally, physically. Not even just at the gym, but home life. We were just we were stretched in every way possible. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I feel like we never found our flow. We didn't have our, we're homebodies, and we were away from South Carolina and Greenville, and so we didn't have much family up there, a lot of friends, and so we were kind of just on our own. And we had friends obviously in Vermont, but it's just a little different. And so we were stretched, and we didn't really have a place where we were like we could feel we could just disconnect and feel at home, and I don't know, just very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. I would say I think a lot of people can move somewhere for training and do it really well, we did the best we could, but it wasn't what was best for us, you know? Like you said, very different environment. Everything revolved around CrossFit. And that is just not how we normally operate. Okay, so we moved at quarters. That went decently well considering circumstances. Semifinals went really well. What was training looking like leading up to semis, and then as games training kicked off, kind of what was training like, and how were you during that?
Yeah, so after quarters, it kind of just ramped up from there. And yeah, so I approached Matt, and basically before we moved, I was like, hey, I obviously want to be the fittest man in the world. You have the ingredients to be able to do that. Put me through exactly what, you did have done in the past. And so I got what I asked for. And essentially from quarterfinals, we ramped up a lot of the volume. We did a lot more stuff. We were in the gym longer hours. And, as I progressed, I would probably say I peaked a little bit too early. And what we learned about the situation is, I'm not Matt and Matt's not me, and we all adapt to volume differently. People can handle a lot more volume than others, and I think that was probably the biggest thing we learned. And so after quarters, we hit the ground running, and we progressed all the way to semifinals. And I would probably say around semifinals is when, I was at, tip-top shape. There was no nagging injuries. There was no, mentally, emotionally, everything was really good. We hadn't been in Vermont that long. And so, we were trying to find our stride, and that was probably the best that we had, gotten to. And so once we got back from Orlando, we took another step in.
That you didn't know what was there to take.
Yeah, we didn't really know what was going to happen. We were just like, all right, well, I came in second at semifinals. Let's just kind of, keep doing the same thing. And so from there, I would probably say things started to digress. And so, we did a lot more workouts and a lot more volume. And it was just, the weights were getting heavier. And I started to realize how hard it was to recover. And I started to realize, probably about a month away from the CrossFit Games, I started to show up to the gym after a rest day. Hey, chilling, buddy.
Just saying you choked to the gym after. No.
I started to show up to the gym after a rest day, not able to really give 100%. And
someone wants to talk.
Yeah.
It may have been even maybe earlier than a month before the games.
Maybe a month and a half. I felt like at that point there was nagging injuries that started to show up. I had a strain in my forearm that prevented me from being on my hands a lot, and there was never anything that was like, oh, I have to like completely stop. But there were those things that were just like nagging. I had shin splints, so I couldn't run. There was like, I had to wait, like I had to do like, I would jump on one day, and then I had to like wait like 3 days for me to like actually be able to jump again, because something in my calf and bone down there was like just jacked up, so I had to let it heal. So there was like always something that I had to like work around and adjust. And so I realized like after the games that those last 2 months I really only had like one gear, and I could only move at there was never a time where I was able to go into a gym and be like, I'm giving 100% with my speed. Like there was never a time where I was able to give maximal intensity in workouts, just because I was so just like, I hit a wall. Yeah. And so that over time, I was training at like 80% over and over and over. Every Metcon was like 80%. And I was like doing all the volume. I was doing all the movements and stuff, and I was getting the reps in, but I was never able to give like maximal intensity in those. And so, I show up to Madison, and I only had one gear, and that was, the gear I'd been training at for, 2 months or a month and a half. And so, yeah, I got to the games, and I was just, I was dead. And I really do feel like I was dead because I never trained, that maximal speed that I was, I never reached because I was never fully recovered. And so, in training. And so, yeah, I got cut at the CrossFit Games in 2023. And from there, we moved back home.
I think you realized too during this season, just from obviously watching you, we realized how there are a lot of factors in life that are important to you and that fill your cup. So while, yes, physically you had hit a wall, there was the emotional, mental, spiritual side to it that I think played a factor more than we knew at the time. Like looking back.
Yeah, for sure. So there was that part in the gym going on, and then there was I felt beat up, but now I'm going not really to a home. It was to a place I was like.
It was a mold and mushroom infested.
It was a duplex.
That was not ideal conditions.
Not ideal.
Definitely not ideal for recovering.
No. So it was just a very chaotic situation. And, I was beat up in the gym. At home, I'm not really happy. I'm not around any friends. There was just nothing was really thriving in, every aspect of my life. And so now we're here.
Not a recipe for success.
Not a recipe for success.
So the games happened. We're moving onwards and upwards from that. I think for me, it was a hard week watching that for you because I know how much you sacrificed, specifically those 6 months leading up to it in Vermont. But I think part of me also wasn't surprised because I was aware of where you had been mentally and emotionally and physically. Kid you not, guys, he would come home every day and there would be something new. I couldn't keep up. Oh, it's my hip here. I'm like, your hip? I swear it was your wrist. At this point, we needed to put you in, I don't know, a mummy suit and let you lay there for a moment. So it was I wasn't surprised because of the toll things had taken on you, but there was that inkling of being surprised because I know all that you're capable of. And you've shown people multiple instances what you're capable of. So it was encouraging to know, as silly as it sounds, that wasn't the Jason Hopper that one that you are from a mental, emotional, spiritual, physical self, but that we also know too. So we get back to Vermont right after Madison, pack up the U-Haul a little earlier than anticipated because we were excited to get home. We missed friends, family, Greenville. Not that we want anyone else to move here because we'd like to buy a house. And if everyone keeps moving and stealing our homes...
Yeah, don't move here, but at the same time, move here.
We get back. And what are you like when you're back? What is CrossFit to you like when you're back? Where do you stand come August?
So it took about, at first when I got back, I hated every aspect of CrossFit. I wanted to do Rogue, and that was...
Can I pause?
Yeah.
So Jason was supposed to get his wisdom teeth out right at Rogue. And I text JR on our flight back from Madison. We have left the games. I text JR. I'm like, I think I need to reschedule Jason's wisdom teeth appointment. And he was like, yeah, for sure. I was like, okay, Jason, just a heads up, I'm going to reschedule that appointment. No, I am not doing Rogue. There's no way that I'm going to be doing CrossFit anytime soon. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I was just a little, beat up emotionally.
Understandable.
More than anything.
That is from a complete state of understanding that you would be that way. I also probably I'll let you keep talking and I can cut this out of you too. I am proud and impressed at how quickly the turnaround was for you. Like, you did not give up, you didn't enjoy it, but like, you knew future you would wish you were still trying.
Yeah,
And I admired that a lot about you, even though I personally would have tapped out. After giving everything, that's the thing, you gave truly everything that you had to give for 6 months to this sport and didn't get any return on that. I personally would have quit so fast. So if I haven't told you, was very encouraged at just watching.
Yeah, I mean, I was super beat up emotionally, and then I didn't get what I really wanted. We sacrificed a lot for, and so when I didn't get that return, it kind of just bummed me out. And so I didn't want to go to the gym. I didn't want to train. I didn't want to do anything that was like hard. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to really just sit at home and do the things that I couldn't really do the last 6 months. And so, but at the same time, Rogue was lingering out there in the future, and I was like, okay, I don't want to do Wadapalooza, and I want to do Rogue. Like, Rogue would be a cool opportunity to kind of just like get back on track and kind of like do this thing.
You love Rogue too.
Yeah,
the 2 years. That's favorite.
I love Rogue. Just a cool event, just in general, and so I really wanted to do that, but they had qualifiers at the end of August, and so we only had like
2 weeks.
2 weeks to really do these, and this was like in the I hated training in this moment. And so, for those 2 weeks, I would just show up to the gym and just like try to maintain some sort of fitness. Like, I didn't want to be there, and it was just kind of like putting just one foot forward. Like, I didn't want to be doing this. I'm not going to be here for a while. Like, I'm just going to go work out, whether it was a class workout, a partner workout, rowing intervals, just trying to stay in shape. I'm doing some kind of lift, not even lifting very long. I'm like, build to a heavy single, in 10 minutes or something. Just like trying to, stay within my, fitness. And, it takes a while for you to actually lose a lot of fitness from, 6 months. I wasn't going to lose that after, 2 weeks off. It would take more than that. And so, that stuff kind of carried over. And so that whole month I did qualify for Rogue, and I went. And even after I qualified, it didn't necessarily like spark anything in me.
I remember James Sprague visited us to do Crash.
Yeah.
And was just floating with Jason the first few days before going to the gym with him. And James was like, this is all you're doing to prep for Rogue?
I mean, Rogue was around the corner.
You're just doing this?
And it was kind of weird. It was like, okay, I have an opportunity to kind of like bounce back and like prove myself. And, I had that in mind, but at the same time, like, those last 6 months were really hard. And it took a lot on me emotionally and physically. And it was something I've never been challenged in that way. And so, it wasn't just going to be like, oh, I got a spot at Rogue. That was going to like get me back into the swing of things. It took a long time. And, even after, training for Rogue, the month into Rogue, like, I would say I started to have, a little fire, but, not much. The volume was super low, and this was kind of like I started to realize what I needed. I didn't need volume. I needed intensity. And I just trusted that I had the volume over like the last 3 years of training. And like, I had that in my belt. I didn't really need to, hammer myself. And at the same time, like, I knew everybody going to Rogue was also, healing, recovering from the games. And so no one was absolutely just pounding themselves into the wall. And so,
for the most part, probably.
Yeah, for the most part. And so, it took a minute, and I feel like it was just one step at a time. There was never a day. There has never even been a day where it was like, okay, like I'm back. I'm back into the swing of things. Like I want this. The fire's there. It was just kind of, one thing. It was kind of like building blocks. It was like one thing just on top of another. Like, oh, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to. I'm ready to do 2 sessions. I'm ready to. I'm ready to stretch before I go to sleep. I'm ready to dial in nutrition. I'm ready to start drinking water that the amounts that I need to. Again, I'm ready to go to sleep on time, sleep this many hours. Like this all never really happened at once. This all was just kind of like, okay, I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this. I'm ready to start implementing some goals. So yeah, there was never like the moment where it was kind of like all came together. It was just kind of
gradual process.
I feel like there was just, building blocks, momentum. It was just put one foot in front of the other and enjoy the process. And yeah, I would say around Christmas time or just after Christmas time was when, I liked where I was. Like things were really going good.
Yeah. I think, very much a slow process, but you wanted to enjoy, like you want to make sure CrossFit was something you enjoyed, and you lost enjoyment of it, I think, those 6 months leading up to the games. And so I've admired the way you've protected it to where it is like, this is a really cool job and a really cool opportunity, and you don't want it to be something that you like have any sort of hatred or dislike towards, because it is a really, really cool gift. And so I've admired the way you've taken those slow steps for it to be something to be enjoyed again. So snaps for Jason. Okay, so 2024 season is here. You've completed the Open thus far. I think you've had really a few months now of really feeling like you're in your groove. What is different this year? I mean, one obvious one I think is we're not moving to Vermont. You have visited Vermont since.
I did the last Open workout in Vermont, which is cool to be back. It was cool to see everybody. I am still H2PO, and I think people have been asking that.
You're just changing things to work for you a little bit more this year, because I would say you also learned that, and you mentioned this, but just like one person's version of success isn't necessarily going to be yours. So you're really figuring out what is successful for you, and HWPO is still a part of that, but so are other people as well. So.
Yeah. So last year there was a big emphasis on lifting, and so it was like lift, lift, lift. I really struggled mentally with the barbell in 2022, going into the 2022 games. Like I did have like a 300-pound snatch, but there was never a time walking up to a bar where I was like, okay, I know I can hit this weight. And so I just didn't have that confidence. And so I started working with Amy with H2PO, and that's all we did. We just lifted. And I feel like, going into the games, I was more confident than I ever have been with a barbell. And so that worked, and I feel like that was very necessary, working all that time. At the games last year, I was 230 pounds, and I didn't really track nutrition. We just kind of like ate as much as we possibly could. And so
I think that was another thing you had seen, that like Matt didn't have to track his nutrition, could eat whatever, but it's like just because that worked for someone doesn't mean it's going to be what works for you. So learning
learned a lot. And then so I got back, and basically the plan was, hey, I don't want to be that big. Like I struggled with the games. There was a lot of upper body pulling at the games, which completely destroyed me. And one, I'm not the greatest at upper body pulling, and two, it didn't help that I was 230 pounds. I got back to the games, or back from the games. I was kind of just like, hey, I don't need to lift as much as I did in 2023. And I don't ever want to weigh 230 pounds again.
For trying.
We are trying. And so basically in 2020, this year, the goal is just upper body pulling and, a lot of skills. I feel like over the last 3 years going to the games, those two things have been the things that have tripped me up the most. And so I approached everybody on my team and said, hey, I'm pretty fed up with struggling at these things, and I don't want to, I don't want this to be the determining factor anymore. And so, yeah, I feel like the shift has always been, hey, the plan has always been, I'm going to do weightlifting first every single day, and then I'm going to, do a Metcon, and then in the remaining time, after a session, 15 minutes, just do some accessories, do some skill practice, or even if we did that, 15 minutes before as a warm up for the day. It was never really a huge priority in training. It was just kind of use this as a warm up, or build upper body pulling as an accessory. And so I feel like this time around, I approached the team and was like, hey, I want those two things to be the top priority in my training. And so more structure around it. There's not just hey, go practice, pullovers and pirouettes for 15 minutes, or go do triple unders for 15 minutes. There's a lot more structure around it. There's a lot more, you could throw it into an EMOM, you could throw progressions into it, you can throw, there's a lot more things you could do with it. And so I feel like every day that's kind of been on the forefront of the plan is hey, what skills can we get better at? And, what sort of pulling can we do to, get stronger? And weightlifting as, I wouldn't say it's taking a back seat, but it's definitely, not the main priority when some of these other deficiencies have probably, been bumped up on the urgency list to get better at. And then just CrossFit style workouts in general. I've always been really good at odd object stuff and, things that you would see at the games or at semifinals that you really can't do at the gym. And so one of the focuses that we've also been really just focused on is just classic CrossFit, transitions, moving point A to point B really fast. And, I feel like I've gotten JR to write all my Metcons. And so he's been a huge help, because I feel like he has a mind that is just, way above a lot of other folks in the space. And, he's very talented with writing and all that stuff. So he's on the team. And yeah, I feel like I got people in different places that are helping me get to where I want to be. So,
how are you approaching the intensity volume balance going into this year?
in our emotional state.
Yeah, I think life in general, of just things that you want to look different.
Yeah, so I feel like the mantra "champions don't have balance" is, I feel like it sounds good, but it doesn't always, like you said, it's all dictated on the person, and maybe that works for people. But I've seen a lot of champions who have a lot of balance in their life, and so that's basically kind of the umbrella of what I wanted to really do this year is hey, how can I create balance? And with the intensity and volume, there is a lot less volume so that we can, tap into some high intensities. And that will probably go, obviously volume is, an important part of the plan, but I feel like when that time, there's an appropriate time when that time comes, and there's a wise time of where it comes. It's not just doing a lot of workouts every day. There's a very crucial time when volume has a part to play. And so just being smart about that and not driving my head into a wall every single day, and then keeping that intensity high. I feel like in the gym, those are that's probably the biggest focus. And then outside of the gym, it's just when I leave the gym, I want to completely leave the gym where it's at. And I don't want to bring CrossFit home. But I have realized that, you know, I'm the most dangerous when I'm the most happiest and joyful and, you know, free. And I feel like last year I probably wasn't as the most free I could be. And there was a lot of strain in my life and in my relationships. And so I feel like that's probably been the biggest goal is like, how can we live free? How can we live a life that is, you know, abundant and full? And what happens in the gym is just a carryover of just what's happening in our hearts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Couldn't agree more, King.
But we're excited.
Yeah, are you excited to compete again?
I am excited. I'm excited. There's been a lot of growth. And I'm excited to showcase it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun year.
I'm excited for you. Whatever the outcome is, I think you obviously still have this big goal that we're after, but I think leading up to that, I don't know, you're experiencing, the goal hasn't changed. This is the way we go about reaching that.
For sure. And I feel like
been fun.
My seriousness towards that goal hasn't changed either.
Yeah.
I'm just allowing the energy to be distributed in different ways and just finding new ways to just get to that goal. And the goal is to be on the podium, and it always has been. And I completely believe that I'm able to get there, and there's still work that needs to be done. And, you know, I wouldn't lie to myself and say, this is not something that I know I'm not possible of achieving. And, you know, I've seen the work pay off in a lot of ways in my life. And, you know, I've seen the success even in this sport. And, you know, I feel super confident, and the confidence hasn't wavered. You know, no matter what happened last year, like there's been plenty of results before that have, you know, given me all the confidence in the world moving forward.
And since, I think, like even you showing up to Rogue, haven't been training really, not really loving it at the moment, and getting 7th with top 20 people in the world was affirmation enough that I still belong here. And I think that was a lie that you had to debunk pretty early on in August, September, October, of this thought that like you didn't anymore. And I think you've done a really well job, and the father in you has.
We are super excited, and we are very appreciative that you would hang around and stick along with us on the journey.
It's going to be a fun one. I'm really excited for this year. I mean it, babe.
It's going to be a good year.
Interviewee.
Yeah. Don't call me babe. All right. Anything else you want to say?
Yeah, ask questions. Let us know what else you want to see, what you want to know. I think part of the enjoyment for the sport for you is getting to have a platform of interacting with people. And
I do love my people.
Yeah, he's a big people person. So ask questions that you want to know about him, what you want to see about his life, and we'll do our best to
future vlog.
Bring those along. What's this?
Us. Vlog. Us.
So you're like, gnarly.
Should we vlog?
What? Just days? Days and day in the lives?
Anything.
Whatever the people want to see, do let us know.
All right, Teddy, you want to say anything? Teddy's been sleeping.
I would like my dinner, please.
Come say hey to the camera.
Give him a kiss goodbye. Bye,
see y'all.
friends.
Mwah.